Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, April 11th, 2025. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. It actually helps the channel out quite a bit. And also, if you're interested in content like this every day, not just on Fridays, then definitely check out the Premium Consulting membership, only $15 a month. And not only do you get a great forecast, but you get a daily education on atmospheric science. So let's dive into the observations. Currently, right now, we have a northeasterly wind developing at 5 to 15 miles per hour. That will steadily increase throughout the day. Temperatures range from the lower to mid 30s in your highest elevations. That's going to be a bit of a theme over the next 48 hours. Mid to upper 30s over the rest of the northern interior, lower to mid 40s along the coast. Definitely a raw, wet day is setting up with plenty of rainfall starting to push into the region. You can see moderate rainfall setting up over central and southern New Jersey, lighter, more scattered rainfall back here over southeastern Pennsylvania, cloudy skies over the New York City metro and over the northern interior. When we take a look at our latest surface map and radar, you can see as the latest data is getting loaded in. Let's fix that real fast. There it is. Okay, good. Now, we have this low pressure system starting to organize. So you're getting all these short waves kind of phasing into one at the lower levels of the atmosphere. And so that's why you're seeing these multiple little low pressure systems, part of the subtropical jet stream and polar jet stream here, phasing into one storm. And so as a result, we're getting a nice precipitation shield. This part of the precipitation shield is part of a southwesterly flow. This is a southeasterly to easterly flow in the atmosphere. And as we move on through the day, this feature will become more scattered as we start to focus more to lifting associated with this storm here. And then this wave of rainfall swings into our area and produces widespread heavy rain for this evening. So this afternoon, we'll kind of get a break between this feature lifting northward and this feature organizing and consolidating. All that shows up very nicely in the upper level winds here. This is 250 millibar winds. And we have this slight positive tilted trough here. Now, what that means is that we have a nice strong southwesterly flow coming right out of the Gulf of Mexico, right up the East Coast here, producing a nice strong moisture transport. And yes, I know some people call it the Gulf of America, right? Whatever you want to call it, it's still the Gulf, and there's plenty of tropical moisture surging northward. And it is marching up the coast here with this positive anomaly here in the trough. But as we move on through the day, because of the fading block here in what was the negative NAO, what you're going to end up with is a slight negative tilt as the new upper level low forms here. And that is what's going to drive our heavy rainfall for tonight into early tomorrow morning. Part of that process can be seen in what we call the moisture transport. Now, this is for 925 to 850 millibar layer of moisture transport. Now, what we're going to be watching for is as our upper level low forms, you can start to see a sign of it right here. You see how the winds are starting to shift up the coast here, going from southwest to south. What's going to happen, and notice the winds back here are coming in from the north. What's going to happen is that we're going to consolidate a mid-level, upper level low. And what that's going to lead to is that the moisture transport is going to become stronger coming off the Atlantic Ocean. So that's going to increase moisture transport throughout the entire weekend. And that means plenty of low clouds, plenty of moisture in the atmosphere, not necessarily widespread rainfall, except for tonight into tomorrow morning, but certainly a rather raw weekend. So while that process is evolving, our precipitable water values are rising. Now, what I'm trying to show here is that a lot of times we look at the model guidance and we have all these little features, right? I wanted to connect it to the actual observations to show you what this actually looks like when we're observing this data. And so this is the precipitable water value in real time. And you can see that surge northward. See that little push northward? Now notice this feature is kind of bending in towards the coast. This feature here with precipitable water values rising over 1 inch, this is what's going to be shifting towards us tonight into tomorrow morning. And then behind it, notice we have dry air. Why? Because we have upper level low. We have a clash between colder, drier air and warmer, moist air. And so, what this will tell me is that as our storm marches northward, we will cut down our precipitable water values, which is why we're expecting less rainfall for Sunday, because we're going to have drier air to work with. But it's still plenty of low clouds. It's not like as if the precipitable water values are going to fall below zero point 0.3 or 0.2, which would be very dry. So this tells me that, yeah, we got a lot of moisture to work with, but our best potential for heavy rainfall will be associated with this feature here as it lifts northward. Clearly, we're going to have a very cloudy day, plenty of cloud cover throughout the region. Notice that we're starting to get a little bit more of an influence from the Atlantic Ocean. What you're going to see is that some of these low clouds are going to start to stream in from the Atlantic, while you have a lot of mid and upper level clouds streaming in from the southwest. On the infrared satellite picture, well, you can see the growth starting to take shape here. Now, remember what I always say about cold cloud tops. The colder the cloud top, the stronger the lifting, the heavier the precipitation. And what we're seeing here in live time is first the divergence in diffluence aloft via the upper level winds. That's causing this little feathery action here. But also notice the expansion of the colder cloud tops as lifting consolidates and intensifies. So as this upper level low forms, you're going to see more and more expansion of these cold cloud tops over the mid-Atlantic, signaling the stronger lifting and then eventually the heavier rainfall. On the water vapor satellite picture, you can see everything just starting to take shape. And this is why I love this satellite picture so much. Notice our trough, but then within that trough, these little short waves, right? One here, one here, one here. What's going to happen is that these are all going to consolidate into one upper level low. And while that consolidation happens, it leads to strong lifting here, which is why we're going to expect our heavy rainfall. That strong lifting also cools the atmosphere. And that's where things get a little tricky with the signal of snow showing up. But there's a little bit more devil to the detail here. So we'll cover that in just a second as we'll actually look at a skew T of the atmosphere to see just how supportive this snowfall potential is. So first I want to show you the 500 millibar PVA, and you can see the evolution of our upper level low forming very nicely. So why aren't we expecting widespread rainfall throughout the entire weekend? Well, it's because of the position of this upper level low. In previous forecasts, this upper level low was sitting over New Jersey, so definitely a lot of rainfall. And that was earlier on in the week when we were starting to deal with the potential for this storm. However, now, because of our pattern breaking down here, and again, you start off with a ridge in the west. When it starts to break down, it forces everything east. So with the upper level low further east off the coast, well, it focuses a lot of your lifting off the coast. And so you kind of get this confluent flow. Here you see how the winds kind of come together here. See that? Well, when you have that set up, that means drying air and reduction of support of lifting. And so what that tends to lead to is cloudy skies, but not much in the way of rainfall. More isolated, widely scattered drizzle along the coast, stuff like that. And then by the time we get to Monday, we get our ridge axis, and that leads to clearing skies. See the same thing here at the mid-levels. And why am I expecting very heavy rain tonight? Well, take a look at the strong lifting here tonight into tomorrow morning. This is about 5 a.m. and you can see the surge of strong lifting coming in from the Atlantic and marching right up into the interior. But also notice that that lifting fades and weakens as the upper level low pushes east. Fades and weakens over us. It strengthens over the Atlantic Ocean, but not so much us. So your best potential for your steady heavy rainfall is going to be late tonight, talking about 10, 11 p.m., on through early tomorrow morning. By 8 a.m., you'll start to notice rainfall, but it'll start to break up as the lifting breaks up. And then the rest of the weekend is just pretty much unsettled. Showing the moisture transport, same thing. When's your strongest moisture transport? Well, it's going to be tonight. And then after that, it starts to fade. And you get more influence of basically moisture wrapping around from the Canadian Maritimes, dropping in, which is why I'm expecting plenty of cloud cover, a few lingering showers, but your strongest lifting is clearly over the Atlantic by the time we get to Sunday. And you can also see that in another way with the precipitable water values. So I'm trying to show you different ways you can see the atmosphere and how this all plays out. So there is our moisture transport. Now, remember I noted some of that drier air as the upper level low forms? Well, there it is. So the rest of the weekend after Saturday morning will feature lower amounts of moisture in the atmosphere, so therefore lower potential for more widespread rainfall. It's more scattered, even isolated at that point. As far as the temperatures, this is where things get interesting. So at 850 millibars, we are getting colder, which is expected because your heights are falling. So as your heights are falling, the atmosphere cools. So with this, you might say, hey, look, it could be snow over central Pennsylvania too. No, not exactly. First of all, you don't have as much moisture, but more importantly, this is during the middle of the day. 18Z is about 2 p.m. So again, we're in April. And in order to support strong cooling in the atmosphere and to support snowfall, you need some pretty strong lifting or perfect timing. So your perfect timing is going to be in the early morning hours. So let's say about 2 a.m. to 8 a.m., right, in this time period. And this is where we're starting to see cooling. -1, -2 degrees Celsius. Marginal, but cold enough to at least produce some snowflakes here. And so with that signal showing up, you next have to look at the boundary layer temperatures. And most of the model guidance is above freezing. Just so, 33 to 35. And then as we move on through the morning and the afternoon, we're well above freezing. So your optimal potential for snow accumulation over northwest New Jersey, the Poconos, the Catskills, northwestern Connecticut is going to be in that time period between 2 and 8 a.m. So roughly 6 hours of potential at very, very, very marginal temperatures. So what I decided to do is first of all take a look at the next 90 hours with our European guidance. And again, you can see scattered showers today. And then here comes that snow signal starting to show up. Boom, right? A lot of this is driven by frontogenesis here, that lifting I was showing at the mid levels. That pops in and then fades just as quickly. So as you can see, this is very much dependent on the timing of the day because the lower levels are going to warm up even in these soggy conditions to well above freezing. So you have to hit the nail on the head between 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. After that, it just pretty much collapses. So when we take a look at the latest NAM guidance, okay, I'm using the coldest guidance to kind of make a point here. So here we have this guidance here. And a lot of this feature is driven by strong frontogenesis showing up here, while most model guidance has it down here. So that strong frontogenesis leads to this signal in the skew-T. A very cold atmosphere between 1,000 and 925 millibars. Okay, so we got right here. Now, in order to drive this, you have to have very powerful frontogenesis taking shape. If it doesn't set up, this fails. And most model guidance has this further south. So that alone should be a warning sign. Why should it be a warning sign? The isotropic lifting we're talking about is driven more by what we call synoptic scale, large scale factors, the developing upper level low, not necessarily mesoscale factors like, let's say, a thermal gradient. All right. So as a result, you have to be really careful on how to use the mesoscale guidance in this scenario. So even in this setup here, at this time period, in the coldest model, in the coldest situation, you're dealing with marginal snow growth potential here. Okay. Your snow ratios are probably about 6-1, 8-1 in this setup here. Not very impressive at all. And it's cold enough for snowflakes, but questionable for snow accumulation. Because remember, this is the coldest point on the coldest model in the coldest region. It's just at freezing, right? So you're dealing with most likely elevation event here, if you have any. And considering what we're dealing with here, I like the idea of going with basically a rain snow mix, change over to snow for a short period of time, trace to an inch over for elevations above 1,500 feet. Even then, pretty much on cold surfaces, because that's when you're going to maximize everything. Other than that, the rest of the model guidance I have available to me and also the current environmental state, the ground temperatures, for example, all suggest to me that this coldest solution is going to be a rare solution, which is why you probably don't want to lean too heavily on the NAM and certainly not the snow maps. We've already ranted about snow maps before. So what I'm expecting in this scenario here, and this is the premium map for premium members. This map is already always updated every day. So this is the latest, and you can zoom in on it and zoom right down to your street. So you don't have to drop me an email. Hey, what's going on in my backyard? You could literally zoom down into it. In the red area, I include this for minor coastal flooding. We're going to have winds tomorrow from the northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Persistent easterly winds today on through tomorrow. And so that could lead to some minor coastal flooding for during your high tides. Other than that, I'm looking for a half an inch to an inch and a half of rain. A lot of that rain is going to be tonight into tomorrow morning. With isolated spots up to 2 inches. And then we're going to have lingering showers for Saturday evening on through Sunday. Again, not a washout for Sunday, but certainly a bit raw out. A little bit further west in the green zone, the only difference between this zone and this zone is obviously no coastal flooding. Why? Because you're not on the coast. But generally the same idea, same impacts. Now we have our snow impact. Notice I'm staying north for the most part, most of northwestern New Jersey, except for the very tip of northern New Jersey, right? And the tip of Sussex County. Everyone else, generally rain event, but there will be that time period from tonight into tomorrow morning, but we will see the potential for some snow. A trace to 1 inch is possible for above 1,500 feet for your coldest surfaces. I think the roadways will be fine, but a bit slick. So just be mindful of that tomorrow morning. But I don't see this as being any type of major surprise at this point. The one caveat here, the one error that could occur, which I don't think is going to happen, but let's just play devil's advocate. If the lifting, let's see, let me go back to 850 millibars here. Here we go. Okay. You see this signal right here? If this ends up way up here, then yeah, game on. So again, even the NAM mile guidance keeps that lifting well south. This strong lifting here. This is what drives a heavy rain for tomorrow. If this somehow, this whole structure ended up instead of over the Delmarva, over let's say Trenton, then yeah, game on. Definitely. It could be a bit of a surprise there. I just don't see any support for that happening. That's why I'm staying away from it. So with that, let's dive into our forecast. So for today, periods of showers, scattered showers, some of it with moderate downpours. You'll get a little bit of a break in the afternoon hours between the lifting that's going to be developing with this heavier rain and that band lifting northward. But anyway you slice it's going to be a damp, raw day with temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 40s over the northern interior and in the Delaware River Valley, upper 40s to lower 50s on the immediate coast. Again, just a raw, damp day. For tonight into tomorrow, waves of moderate to heavy rainfall can be expected, with temperatures falling off into the lower to mid 30s for the highest elevations, and that's where we'll introduce our snow potential. The rest of the region will be in the mid to upper 30s, so a very damp, chilly morning, that is for sure. By the afternoon hours, the intensity of rainfall starts to back off and the rain shield starts to break up to more of a scattered rainfall. But anyway you slice it, it's going to be just a horrible day for outdoor activities with high temperatures in the lower to mid 40s. For tonight into tomorrow, should I say into tomorrow night into Sunday morning, still overcast cloud cover, but the rainfall potential will start to fall apart and you'll have more isolated showers and drizzle, but still kind of raw out. Look for low temperatures to range from the lower to mid 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the lower to mid 50s over the northern interior, mid to upper 50s along the coast. On Monday, we start to clear out with high pressure and control, more sunshine. Low temperatures will range from the mid to upper 30s over the northern interior, lower to mid 40s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the lower to mid 60s throughout the region. So, much better day. On Tuesday, a cold front will move through in the morning hours with a few widely scattered isolated showers. followed by sky cloud cover in the afternoon. Look for low temperatures to range from the mid to upper 40s over the interior and in your suburbs, upper 40s to lower 50s along the coast, should I say in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the mid to upper 50s over the northern interior, lower to mid 60s along the coast. On Wednesday, high pressure will build in, but it'll be a bit breezy, especially in the morning hours. Look for low temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s in your suburbs, lower to mid 40s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the lower to mid 40s over the northern interior, mid to upper 40s along the coast. On Thursday, high pressure continues to remain in control, but more of a southwesterly wind, so it'll be a bit warmer by the afternoon hours. Look for low temperatures in the mid to upper 20s over the northern interior, lower to mid 30s along the coast. High temperatures in the lower to mid 50s over the interior and mid to upper 50s along the coast. And on Friday, a cold front will move through with periods of showers and some heavier downpours possible. We'll have to watch out to see if we get a little wave of low pressure developing along this frontal boundary that could enhance this rainfall. But certainly a day where you're going to be dealing with scattered showers at the very least. Low temperatures in the lower to mid 40s, high temperatures in the mid to upper 50s over the northern interior, mid to upper 50s along the coast, and lower to mid 60s in the Delaware River Valley. So that's your forecast for today. I hope I was able to explain the different factors with this storm that's going to be impacting us over the next 48 hours and what to really expect for snowfall in case you get any confusion about that. In the meantime, stay safe out there.